back to another video on Viper's reloading and casting channel. What I'm working on now is taking my range brass, and you see it's not too bad, pretty clean. I've put it back in the tumbler for another couple hours before I got to this point where I wanted to start doing the real preparation before I load them. About 200 in here right now, and the first thing you got to do is you want to have, some kind of primer pocket cleaner, and I just use this little handheld one. Got a side for the small primer pockets and another side for the large primer pockets, and all it is just taking this, putting it inside the primer pocket, twisting it, and just making sure that it's good and clean before you get to putting a new primer in it and reloading it. So I'm going to do these 200 and then come back and we'll do the next step. All right, so all 200 are done. And now one of the things we got to do next is, especially with 223 brass and even some of the 308 brass, they may have a crimp ring in them, and it's maybe hard to see, but you can kind of see a little band inside that primer pocket, and that's a little ring that makes it very difficult to push another primer up in there. A lot of military grade brass has that crimp ring in it, so it just takes a little remover like this and just spin it around, and it'll chew that crimp ring out and it won't mess up the primer pocket at all. So I cheat. I stick this on the end of a drill, and then I just turn it on, hit the pocket, move on to the next piece. So I'm gonna go do these 200 pieces here, and then we'll be back for the next step of it. 200 have now had the crimp rings checked, make sure there wasn't any, and in this case, out of these 200, I had 35 that had a crimp ring, so I was able to get all those removed and now ready for the next step. And anytime you're going to take brass and do anything with it prior to reloading it, whether it's range brass or brass that you fired, anything, once it's been fired, you've got to have one of these, which, I use the Lee case length gauge and shell holders. This is for the 223, and as you can see with the little tool like this, this piece screws on. This piece here is what actually comes in the package. This, and then I've already got one here, my drill, the shell holder right there that holds it in place. And yeah, I cheat. There are things out there that you can buy that is a whole prep center. It's powered, but for me, I've got a DeWalt, I've got a Craftsman, and a couple other drills laying around that I use, different RPMs, different speeds, which get the job done for me. So all this is just taking it inserts into the mouth of the case, and then while you're holding it, for me, just hit the drill, and it makes sure that the length of the case is at factory specs. So I just press in as I'm got the drill running, and when I don't see any more brass, which you can see some pieces here, when I don't see any more brass, I know it's at the right length. I just pull it out, and then I have this chamfering tool, and I just put it in here, give it a quick tap on the drill, a couple of revolutions, and then what that does is that deburrs any burrs that may be left after using your length gauge, and then it also kind of bells the tip just a little bit. So then when I put it in my press later, there's press, when I put it in there later on and I'm ready to load the projectile on, it will allow the projectile to seat better, and it will also ensure that the powder coat stays intact off of my cast bullets when it does get loaded. I learned that the hard way. I did some 30-30 rounds when I first was getting started with the powder coating, and I didn't bell the tip of the case on the 30-30 rounds. So I found out real quick that when you force that powder coated bullet into a shell that does not have that little bell on the tip, it chews up the powder coat. And then with that, now if I was to shoot those, then I increase my chances of leading my barrel. And that's a whole nother long process to try to get that cleaned out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my length gauge and my chamfering on these 200, and then we'll keep going from there. All 200 rounds have now been length gauged. They've been cleaned up. They've had the primer pockets cleaned. They've been chamfered and deburred. These 200 cases are completely ready to be loaded, which will be a whole nother video, taking metal to cast to powder coat, and then again from a powder coated bullet to a finished complete round ready to shoot. As you can see, I got quite a bunch after 200 rounds of brass. One of the things I haven't talked about up to this point was, make sure you are reloading 223 specific brass if that is what you're reloading for. It is very easy to get a 5.56 round in your mix of brass, especially since 5.56 rounds, the brass and the 223 brass are 100% the same. Every measurement, everything. There's a lot of talk out there on the internet, talking about, oh, well, some cases way more, some cases way less. I am going to take some 5.56 brass here soon and size it and do everything as if I was doing a 223. I'm going to use my 223 load data, and then I'm going to put it through my AR and see how it does. From things I've read and looking into the research aspect of it, it seems like it should be okay. As long as you stay low on the powder, you won't get too much of a chamber pressure issue. So for now, I appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully this gives you some more insight into just what I do to prepare my 223 brass after it's been cleaned up from the range and just sitting in a storage bin and getting it ready to now load with a projectile and powder and a primer, and then take it to the range. So for now, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.